now that we've talked a little bit about what it's like going to an IIT, what it's like pursuing a CSEFA, I'd love to talk about one thing which a lot of people who don't get into these institutions think they really miss out on, which is the alumni and the networks, right? That is, in fact, the other day I was talking to a founder, a very successful founder who's raised a bunch of funding. He has got a bunch of app downloads, like a few million, doing very well for himself, and his company is doing great. And he was telling me, he was not from an IIT, and he said, these IIT guys, their networks are so strong, they'll put it up in the alumni group that, I'm starting this, and within 3 weeks, they've got like $2 million in funding. I wanted to know, as founders from IIT Bombay, which is probably one of the best IITs in the country, how much of that is true? And what is this alumni network really like?
I would just put one small point there, that while yes, the alumni network helps, while yes, a network that we have inherently helps, but that bold statement of just putting out there that, hey, I'm starting up and I have $2 million in my pocket in just 3 weeks, that's not true. Everyone has to put in the hard work.
I mean, I would also like to know what are these groups and how can I get in touch with them?
Exactly.
Just asking for a friend.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You ask for me now. I think what Utkarsh said, bang on. Network groups extremely strong, but to what extent? Of course not. I think what people mistake here is your personalities. Not every IITian on those groups are going to get or reap the benefits out of it. I have seen non-IIT folks so good at networking. In fact, one of our friends who's not from IIT knows everyone from IIT Bombay and beyond. And she's not even an engineer, and she kind of, I don't think we know so many people.
I know. Shout out to Shreni over here. I mean, I don't know any IIT friend of mine who knows more IITians than she does. And not just know, like deeply know them, connect with them.
But how did that happen?
It happened because she was in close proximity of the campus. Her mother was a professor, staff member inside the campus. And that's how she started interacting. And she's in general a social person. So she started interacting with folks. And I think that's important, right? You need to have the personality. So what happened with her is I think when she was in her 6th or 7th standard, she started coming to campus to participate in the art exhibitions that we used to organize as students. And she started building connections from there. And she just enjoyed building those connections and enjoyed interacting with
students. I think she took the first step. Took the first step. I was not in the art club. She knows me and she has been more in touch with me than any other IITian that I know.
True.
And that is something that brings out in your personality. You need to maintain the network. You can have a non-existing network or an existing network. If you don't maintain it, you're not going to reap the benefits out of it.
Correct. But this girl Xari that you're telling me about, so her family was related, like had something with the IIT approximate.
Yes.
What about somebody who really wants to network with IIT Bombay people, but does not have the benefit of that proximity? How do they go about that?
See, it's all about the hustle. You can always find opportunities. You can probably do an internship inside campus where a lot of professors offer that. You can connect with existing alumni or students there and start working with them. I have this one intern who has been working with me for almost 2 years now. He is from a town called Nanded. No affiliation to IIT Bombay as such. He just reached out to me on LinkedIn that he wanted to do something. And I saw the drive in him and I gave him the opportunity, and now for the last 2 years he has been working very actively with me. So it's all about your hustle. You can always find opportunities.
I think while that is true, I also believe in the fact that we come from a place of privilege, to be honest. IITians do have that network and we do leverage that network most of the times. For other people, it might seem like a clique, which is impenetrable, but there are possibilities of penetrating through the clique and understanding what is going on inside and reaching out to people as well. The probability of that, the math doesn't math here.
True.
I
mean, all the students who worked their ass off to get through JEE, of course, they did it for some reason, right? So we have that advantage.
Some students who worked their ass off to get through JEE and some others who just got lucky there. I'm just going to state that. I already said that.
Fair point. Very fair.
In my life, if there's the biggest idiots that I've met are also from IIT Bombay. So there you go. True. In the iconic words of Dua Lipa, bitch, I said what I said.
Yeah, I mean, Nalsar is a much younger institution, but our alumni network has made Law Yantra possible. So I know the power of alumni, and which is why I want to ask Harsh. Harsh, did you ever feel? First of all, I'm not aware if the CA, CFA, institutes really have an alumni network per se. And how does networking within these communities really work?
Okay. So it starts with post 12th when you give your entrance exam, CPT. So you go to coaching classes, there you make friends. And when you start that coaching classes, you tend to stay with them till the finals. Because that's the start. That's junior KG for CA, I would say. So that goes to finals. Then when you pass that, when you start your articleship, you go network with people you work with. So that advantage of working while you are in college, like you are 18, 19-year-old kid, started working already under a professional. So that gives you a very big leverage. So your chartered accountant who you are doing your articleship under, that's your first touch point of networking. His partners, again, and their connections. So it builds on. Plus their clients. So that's articleship. Then again, you go for CA final coaching. There you make a lot of network. Then CA Institute conducts this soft skills training program that extends for 15 days. Now 15 days seems like a lot, but it's just 6 hours. The rest of the days you are free. You don't have to go to work. So after that 6 hours, you chill out with 30 people. So that becomes a very strong bond that you carry yourself professionally when you graduate or when you pass CA finals. And the last, I feel, is library. CA Institute also has libraries and personal libraries you go to study nearby. So you'll always find community over there. So there you go, discuss doubts and you connect. And that stays for a long time. That kind of a network that chartered accountants build.
No IITian would say that they build their networks in libraries. So the stereotype needs to change. Why are we being considered geeks?
No, true, absolutely true. And I wanted to bring up this topic as well. How important would be your personality type, like extrovert, introvert, ambivert, in building networks? Because for you, it sounds like it's more difficult, right? So you need to be proactively outgoing in order to build networks.
No one's going to push you. If you don't go out, they'll be like, karne de isko. Jo karna hai, karne de.
For us, a senior would come drag you by the collar out of your hostel room and be like, you are good at this, you are going to represent our hostel and you are going to do this. And then you kind of feel like, I got bullied, but maybe he's right.
And if you're not talented, then you just have these newspapers lying across the hostels and which you have to help in creating props. Well, yeah, we have a great performing arts festival that we organize, where we do the entire thing, right? I mean, the entire shenanigan. Setting up props, setting up the entire logistics.
It's a whole live movie set.
Exactly.
So 2.5 hours of full dramatics, combining 2-3 hostels together. And it's a competition, so it's not just we are doing it for fun, it's a competition. So 3 hostels, then 3 hostels, then 3, then 3. And you have to do everything from voiceovers to acting, to music production, to dancing, to prop designing, to set designing, to
building props as well. And that's where the freshies come in, which are not talented. Luckily, Bhasme found me and we got into dance. But otherwise, all the freshies are then asked to just start pasting newspapers.
You know, first year students you don't usually interact with so much because then professors are on your back saying that, hey, are you ragging him? Are you ragging him? So we don't interact with them so much. So usually you give the menial work like intern work, coffee le gaya type work to freshers. But if a fresher is talented, you just take them under your wing.
But
we built a train.
Yeah.
We built a train inside a campus which was fully functional, had an engine, had a bogie piche, and was running on tracks, and had 8 dancers on top of it.
Where did this train go from and to?
Inside our campus itself, but inside the stage.
They'll make a train for a city that needs trains, but they'll only make it for inside their campus.
Oh, on the stage,
on the
and,
stage.
and almost 4 people height above. I mean, yeah. But one thing which we haven't touched upon is the kind of network that you bring in, Devarsh, especially because you have 2 different sets of network that you have got, which is one is a strong network in India from a great college within Indian law circles, and then also Columbia, which is an Ivy League college. So would love to know how these 2 networks are different and how you have been able to leverage them.
So I don't know how similar or dissimilar it is to the IIT experience, but my law school in Nalsar was a very small law school where at the time when I was studying, we had 120 people a batch and that was it. So you kind of knew everyone, 4 years senior, 4 years junior, because it's a 5-year course. So those like 9 years, everyone is like family, right? Like across those 9 batches, everyone is like family. So they are like your first family. And your alumni, because it's a young college and you don't really have too many like judges or people who've really, really made it. You have a lot of people doing great for themselves, but they're on the cusp of, achieving greatness in the field. They're still approachable and they're still very, very helpful. So that alumni is amazing. We used to have this thing in Nalsar called moot court competitions. It's like a competition where you have to go, you get a case and you argue it. It's a very law school thing. And in Nalsar, to be one of the yo kids, you had to be very good at mooting, right? So I just did a bunch of moots. It also allowed for college to pay for a lot of my travels to different parts of the world. So I went to Buenos Aires, I went to Dusseldorf, and a lot of other places, thanks to mooting. But like, I could tap into my alumni network to take practice rounds for me. And busy lawyers would spare 2 hours of their time giving practice rounds for a fake case to law students. And that was very, very helpful from an alumni perspective. When I talk about Columbia Law, I think the alumni network there is very institution driven. So Columbia wants to have a lot more control over its alumni than Nalsar does. Like the Nalsar alumni initiatives are largely student driven. Like, former students, present students will make these committees, and that's a very Indian thing as well. But in the US, because the alumni is such a massive source for their financial, donations and endowments and everything, they really keep a close contact on the alumni. So your network is great, but it doesn't go too much beyond your batch.
It's a very interesting point, and I would love to understand how that really affects interpersonal relationship. If I have to, let's say, reach out to a fellow founder from IIT Bombay, let's say like Ajinkya over here, I can easily do that, and I have a lot more comfort in doing that. I don't know what level of comfort and what kind of impact institutional control over alumni network brings in. Is it better? Is it worse?
First of all, it's a lot harder to just like
Randomly reach out.
You have to randomly reach out. Like you don't have WhatsApp groups and communities, etc. You'll have that for your batch, but you will not have that across batches. Also because the students are from different countries, etc. So it's not as easy to organize and make collective efforts towards these things. So you'll have to go through the university for anything, and that's not exactly the easiest process. It does get
It's a longer route of communication.
It is a little bureaucratic, for sure. But that said, the kind of networking that your batch gives you is great because there are people across all years. So I was sitting next to an Egyptian judge. I had somebody who was a partner in a law firm. Like most of the people in my batch at Columbia Law would have been my boss if I was working under them in the law firm, right? And some small part of me took a lot of sadistic pleasure in that. Then I could call them by their first name and we were like peers. But in any other setting in the real world, they would have been my boss.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a great experience.
Okay. And how has that helped you in shaping up
Loyantra. Yeah. Don't worry, you're only on the Loyantra Founders Club podcast. You don't need to know the name. It has helped a lot because the perspectives that you get from lawyers across the world really, really changed the way you view the legal profession. Like, I was an Indian lawyer, trained in India, practicing in India. So a lot of things which the legal profession does and which may not necessarily make all that much sense, but we do it because that's the way we've done things. I never questioned them. I always took them as sacrosanct. But the second I saw how, say for example, in Latin America, some bar associations were organized, or how in the European countries they practiced law in Singapore or the US, it made me question our system and realize where it could be improved.
The efficacy.
The efficacy, and opportunities. It makes you see a lot more opportunities, which exist. And I think that, in many ways, did really help in clarifying the idea of no answer. And of course, like getting a good CA, CFA,
Shout out.
yeah, shout out to Harsh, has really, really helped.
Of course he has. He studied so much.
In the library.
So we
Bring out complementary skill sets. So I am a lot technically driven because of my academics, and he's more socially driven because of his network. So we bring out those complementary skill sets, and we make it work.